Hey everybody, Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we are looking at today is the Harukaze G3 or Ginsan Nashiji Nakiri 165 millimeter knife. So the way these are made is they're 3 layers, and the hard center core cutting edge steel is what's known as Ginsan or G3 or Ginsanko Silver 3 stainless steel. It's a conventional stainless steel that's fine grained, takes a great edge, holds it pretty well, and it's just it's very nice to sharpen. It's an excellent steel for kitchen knives. And to maintain the full stainless package, they've put soft stainless cladding on either side of that hard core cutting edge, that G3 steel. The cladding has a kind of a mottled finish, which is known as Nashiji or pear skin type finish, and it's got some hammer marks on it, and every knife's a little bit unique. These have a unique spine on them that has the hammering on there and some waviness to it, so quite unique for most knives. The heat treat's typically around 61, 62 Rockwell for that steel, and then the dimensions and weights can vary just a little bit from knife to knife. This particular one is 153 grams or 5.4 ounces. And the edge length is right about 165, usable edge when you start taking some of this front curve at the tip here in, or about 6.5 inches, and then the overall length's about 12.1 inches. Spine thickness, these are actually fairly thin all the way down, just pretty much, it's a little tough with the hammering here, but I got about 2 millimeters, just pretty much all the way down. And then you can see the waviness, camera to stay on that here. You can see they've got kind of some hammering on the spine. It's actually been finished, and the edges relieved a little bit, but it's pretty interesting. The blade height, they measure it in 2 places on these types of knives typically. So about 52.2 millimeters at the back, and I measured about 52.1 about halfway down. So it's pretty much one of those knives that's about the same height all the way down. And then the handle's just a basic ambidextrous oval, what's called magnolia or hoe wood, and a black peckerwood ferrule. The handle's quite light. That brings the balance point back a little bit. Circumference, I got about 72, 73 millimeters right here. And the fit and finish is nicely done on this, very smooth at the junction here. And then good tight glue up, looks like going into the handle where the tang goes into the handle. The balance point, as I mentioned, this is a very light wood, so the balance point, you know, being this style of blade, it's going to be a little further forward. So it's just kind of good on this style to give you a little bit of chopping power, the way these knives are used. So there's your balance point. So right about there. For me, that's in front of the pinch grip for my particular hand size, etc. And so that gives you a little bit of a cutting power, even though it's still, you know, 5.4 ounces, still pretty light. Let's get our beauty shot here of this guy. There we go. So every knife's going to be a little bit different. They do have hand engraved or chiseled kanji on these, which is becoming a little less common, so that's nice to see. And very well done. You can definitely see the light hitting where the, you know, the chisel engraving is. And then again, you've got a Nashiji or pear skin finish. This one's fairly pronounced. And again, every knife's going to be a little different. That's the cool part about them. So you've got some embossed kanji on the left side. And then there's your grind, your cladding down to the edge, and then here's your edge steel peeking out with that cladding line. And of course, this is your edge bevel. They're not shy about their edge bevel here. They've got a pretty aggressive angle on the edge. You can see it's pretty big if you look at the width of that area down there. So they've done that. You know, they're not afraid to take this steel to a little bit of a more acute angle on the edge. The blade itself is pretty stiff, as you might guess. Nice fit and finish. As I mentioned, they polish the spine a little bit and relieve the corners of that. And they've done a little bit of that also at the choil. Not a ton, but enough where they take the edge off. And I'd say this was a good 6 out of 10 on my scale, just out of the box sharpness. Let's take a look at, I don't really have a tip shot for you. This is not that kind of knife, but pretty thin. tapered down pretty thin. Nice generous blade road, so the performance should be really good on these. What else do we need to look at? I guess let's look at the cutting board profile. So what's cool is these have a traditional look, but they're all stainless, so that's a neat feature. So here is the cutting board profile. And every knife's going to be a little different, but this is what this one looks like. So pretty nice profile, actually. You've got a little bit of belly towards the front. Of course, you got that curved tip, so that means you can really, you can really rock this if you want to. You've got a nice pivot point there to go as high as you want. And then it comes down into a stop about the back 40% of the blade, maybe half the blade. So it does kind of rotate into that stop, so that you can really chop with this very, very well towards the back, even part of the front, because it's a low belly. But you could even rock with it a little bit if you wanted to. So it's a very versatile profile for this style of knife, and a good chopper, which is a lot of what you do with these. But just a cool line of knives with a lot of nice features and great steel, all stainless package. So this is the Harukaze G3 or Ginsan Nashiji Nakiri 165mm knife.